Okay, so this is part 2 to the breakdown of Michael Rossi, one of John Wayne Gacy's accomplices and employees. In 1980, Rossi would be charged for credit card theft, but he would not be convicted. Though, again in 1982, Rossi would be involved in an assault. This story is both mentioned in Omnipotent Don't Ask, Don't Tell by William Dorsch, but also in the book Boys Enter the House. In January 1982, Rossi and the Mueller family would be involved in the kidnapping and beating of a man named Joseph Chavez. Chavez would state that Rossi and him had known each other for over 5 years. The assault had occurred as Rossi and the Mueller family had accused Chavez of making threatening phone calls to the wife of a friend within the Mueller family. Both Rossi and Chavez were also acquainted with this family, which this family was very involved in theft. The Muellers were pretty much known to Kmart security for changing price tags of higher priced Kmart items with that of lower priced Kmart items. They then would return the items days later if found a receipt to get their money back. The Mueller family had also been running a construction business, which is how they became acquainted with John Wayne Gacy. Chavez would pretty much claim that occasionally him and the Muellers would pick up Rossi from Gacy's home, but stated that their relationship was only related to business matters and that Rossi had done work for the Muellers. Though Chavez would state that Rossi had offered him a job with PDM if he ever wanted to quit with the Muellers. Chavez would also state that sometimes they would talk about crimes they had committed, and occasionally Rossi would mention stories of him and Gacy recruiting boys, who then would be brought back to Gacy's home, donned and handcuffed, and that the boys would be tortured and killed before being buried underneath the home. He had also stated he had dug many of these holes that were within Gacy's house, and that some of the individuals had been sexually assaulted, but that he had only witnessed these events and not partook in the murders or sexual assaults himself. Chavez had been told these stories prior to Gacy's arrest, so he did not know if to believe these stories or not, though he did believe that the Muellers knew more about the murders than they let on, as the Mueller's mother would tell her sons to not visit Gacy's home. Chavez would claim that the true reason for his assault was not because he was harassing a wife of one of the Muellers, but because of unpaid wages, so he had broken off his relationship. He would later be led from his apartment into an alley by the Muellers. During this altercation, he would witness Rossi and other individuals exiting the car. He had said that Rossi and one of the Muellers had pointed a gun at him. After this point, he was forced into a vehicle where he was assaulted, and then later would be forced into a basement where the assaults continued. At some point, Chavez was tied to a car seat in the basement. Rossi had tied a rope around his neck and stated, "This is how I did the other boys." He had also claimed that he would do the tying, as he had experienced tying knots. Rossi would once again be arrested in 1985 for battery, but was not convicted. He also had other battery arrests in 1998 and 1993, but was not convicted. Rossi's last conviction would be for a conspiracy to commit arson in 2003. Rossi was an aspiring member of the local 110 Chicago Protectionist Union, which they had all conspired to commit arson across state lines in a multitude of states against movie theaters. Some of these arsons did take place, leading to evacuations of the theaters, and in some cases had even caused property damage. All individuals involved were either members of the union or prospective members. Both Rossi and another individual, Peter McCary, who were aspiring members in 1999, had traveled to the home of a manager and had assaulted the manager with a baseball bat across the head, and had also assaulted him on other places of his body with this baseball bat. By doing this, Rossi and McCary were promised membership with Local 110. To give some background on Local 110, it was believed, based on a Deadline article, to be one of the most mobbed-up unions in the United States, which included members of the Chicago mob and their relatives. As of 2015, it still continued to have mobsters a part of its operations. One individual, part of Local 110 and the arson tax, went on to write a book called Crimes of a Christian. Though this book is out of print and difficult to obtain, So I cannot give any details on this book until I obtain it, and I did try to reach out to the author on Facebook, but I never heard anything back. I just don't think he's active anymore, to be fair with you. Now, if you look at today, it's quite difficult to find much on Rossi's life. It's almost like he's been cleared from every public record search, but I was able to find his Facebook, and I had included a photo, which was not recent. This was given to me of somebody of his account based on a few years ago. Now, most of his posts on his Facebook are filled with posts about dogs, which is really weird when you look at some of the history of Rossi, such as his involvement in the John Mowry disappearance and murder, and how he had attempted to give one of his dogs away. There's also alleged ties to Vito Marzullo, but I could not find any direct blood relation. I did try to look through Ancestry, but I could not find anything. I also tried to find a grave. I think this might have meant more so it was some kind of mob relation sort of deal where, you know, they were like mob family, but I don't know for sure. This is also me coming in and like chiming in a little bit post-editing, which I kind of want to apologize for how fast this video is. But I did forget that like months ago on Reddit, I had made this post about the deleted JohnWayneGacyNews.com article about Vito Marzullo and how he had some relation to Michael Rossi, which it was very weird. You can find it on archive.org, which I'll include it in the description or in the comment section, but this was just deleted out of thin air off the website one day. So I wanted to include that. And based on what I had also found, his father might have been a lieutenant of Melrose Park, which was like a suburb of Chicago, I think on the north side, which was around the area Rossi lived when he was working for Gacy. Now, again, I kind of want to say take it with a grain of salt because I still cannot confirm. It was just me looking for records, and this was kind of what seemed to make sense to me based on what I had found, because it was so difficult to kind of find stuff that even on Ancestry and things like that, it was difficult to really find any records out there on him. Now, one thing I did not add to my script that I want to include was in the book Killing Time with John Wayne Gacy by Karen Connie. She had mentioned that when she was writing her book, she had attempted to contact Rossi just, you know, get comment from him when she was writing her book. And pretty much the phone call had just gone through. Nobody answered it. Then immediately she had received a call from a lawyer pretty much telling her to not contact this number. He has refused to be a part of documentaries in recent years. And he also was not included in this upcoming movie on John Wayne Gacy that's supposed to come out. Weirdly enough, they had a man playing Philip Paskey in this movie based on what IMDb says. And there's also David Cram, but there is no Michael Rossi, which is pretty odd. I know somewhere he's also offered over, I believe it's $50,000 to talk. He had offered some guy like $50,000 to talk about John Wayne Gacy. So it's very difficult to get any comment from him on any of these sort of things. There is a chance that, you know, this video could get taken down if this part or the first part could get taken down based on the fact he does have a lawyer. And it seems that he does not want his name tied to any of these things. So everything that I've mentioned here has came from books and records that anybody could access, either publicly or through an Ancestry subscription. Some of it was also newspapers and Genealogy Bank, I think was the site. Those were the sites that I primarily used to find most of this information.